Welcome to the Chronicles podcast with your host, me, Ashley Nicole, where we talk about the audacity and just courageousness of being your authentic self when you release the past and you allow yourself to really step into and rise into who you have always been meant to be. I love talking to people and talking about how we are allowing ourselves to now be authentic in any and every single situation, no matter the circumstance, the people you're around. You stand, 10 feet tall in every single room. You own your energy. You own who you are because you know who you are. And the highest form of love is also authenticity. On this episode today, I want to dive into what is your authentic self? Who is your authentic self? What does that actually mean? At least to me. Hopefully we get to connect with people. Hopefully some of this resonates with you, and we'll just dive right in. When I hear the authentic self, when I feel into the energy of the authentic self, it's when we have done the inner work, the somatic work, the nervous system regulations, the releasing of the past. We no longer fall victim to what has happened in the past, and we've fully evolved into our soul self. The soul is the one that's leading us. Your light is the one that's leading us. The remembrance of who you are at your core. Now, of course, this comes after spiritual awakening, Kundalini risings. Those are two separate things. And you are stripped down to being absolutely naked. You are a blank slate. It's almost like a factory data reset with your soul, though. It's when the ego, a lot of people say ego deaths. I'm not one that believes fully in ego deaths. I think of ego evolution. I think of ego maturation, and it's the exact same thing as the body. The mind, body, and the soul all go through this huge just maturation. And then when you come back to a blank slate, that's when you're like, okay, now I get to not just create the circumstances around me, but I'm creating it from the fullest version of myself, which is crazy because after a spiritual awakening, you're brought back down to zero. So is it the fullest version? And I think absolutely yes. So then with authenticity, it has to come from a place of, hey, I'm going to show up the greatest way that my soul knows how. A lot of people, though, confuse, well, that's just the way I am versus, nah, this is my soul alignment and this is what I'm doing. And so on this podcast, we speak from soul alignment. We speak from authenticity, but like soul level authenticity. I don't want to hear or discuss about, well, this has happened to me, and so that's why it's made me the way that it is. Unfortunately, that's how some of the world works. And that's okay. That's just what it is. That's just how life is. It's not to, what am I trying to say? It's not to invalidate past experiences. Yes, they've happened. But as Joe Dispenza has also said, as my mentor says, when do you stop being a victim of your past and when do you get to create your future? I know that's a bold step. Holy shit. I fucking know. I remember the first time I sat down with my mentor and she said that. I looked at her like she had 17 heads. I was like, what the fuck do you mean by that? And it's true. Now that I've been through it, 7 years of it, and that's just, here we are. So then, now let's get into a little story time of me experiencing some authenticity and then how I experience authenticity in the world and its beauty and the empowerment and it's bliss, but not in the chaotic dopamine hit bliss. It's bliss in the, oh, this is my new normal. So way back when, it was actually a few years ago, when I first started in the spiritual community, I think everyone is introduced to spirituality through the law of attraction. Either the documentary or the book. It was on Netflix for a while. And everyone got that huge hit of oh my God, I can do this. I can change my life. And they're so excited, and my mind creates my reality. And then everyone's like, wait, my mind? And they didn't realize, like, oh, actually, this is you essentially being kicked off of a cliff. It's not just your mind. Haha. It's everything from your past, from your present, from your soul level, through your mind, all through your nervous system and everything. So it was like the law of attraction was the carrot dangling in front of you. So that was my experience, my first introduction into spirituality. And then I start realizing, oh, this is a little bit more than I anticipated. And so I started trying and doing the mental work, but that's when mental health came in. And then you have like all of the diagnoses, and the world tries to tell you, hey, you have ADHD or you're bipolar or OCD, and here's a pill. And I had always chosen the route of, let me do this naturally. And it's not because I have anything against medicine. If medicine is what you need to do, do your thing. Like, that may be your path or something. But for me, I definitely wanted to just do it raw. And that sounds crazy. But here we are. And so as I'm going on this path, I discovered Reiki. And the first Reiki practitioner, we dove right in, and it was beautiful, but there was a disconnect because just our backgrounds were a little bit different, and the connection just wasn't there between two people. And so I stepped away from it, and this was just me receiving Reiki. Then a few years later, I started receiving Reiki, have Reiki done on me by someone else. And she told me, she was like, hey, yeah, you know you're a healer? And I said, oh, absolutely not. No, that is not me. No, thank you. My background is in psychology. I go the psychology route, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm just here to see you so I can fix myself. And again, this is undeveloped, Ashley. I was saying fix myself from a place of like, I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. Once again, this is a belief system that was instilled in me and I kept playing out in my life. That is not your authentic self. That is something that is spoon-fed to you, and then you just recreate it on every level. Anyway, so I keep going with it. And then I finally take the step and I started learning how to do Reiki on people. And then this is where I started noticing there was a split happening with me versus the environment in the world. What was happening when I had clients was my clients were falling asleep. They were falling asleep, or there would be a release and the energy just felt clean afterwards. Whereas I was witnessing other ceremonies and people like passing out, they're having full on like screaming and wailing. And it reminded me so much of church culture. And I had always questioned church culture. Like, is this real? Are people actually experiencing this? Or am I crazy? And when I question something, it's not from a place of combating it. It's really from inquisition. Like, I want to understand. So as I'm going along with it, because I had the core belief of I'm broken, something's wrong with me, I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not right. Maybe I just don't need to be a Reiki practitioner and shit. And I had someone tell me, they were like, no, Ashley, I don't know if you know what you're doing, but you are regulating people's nervous systems. You are the grounding, and people are coming home to like themselves. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. That sat with me, and it's like a seed blew up in my mind, overtook me. So then now I start noticing after that conversation, and I just had to sit with myself, I'm walking into some spiritual spaces and I start seeing like there's a lot of spirituality that was being performed. And although I had the conversation of, hey, this is what's happening with your clients, there's a little bit of a difference, I still felt like I was missing something. And then I realized, I was like, well, they open ceremonies like this, and then this is how other people go over here. And then there were also people that were oracle and tarot readers. And I was like, I want to do that too. And I realized after a while, hey, Ashley, that's not your path. There's nothing wrong with it. And if that's what suits them, if that's what's aligned for them, that's beautiful. As long as they're living in their truth. And honestly, If they are or not, that ain't got shit to do with me. And there was a very real realization moment that, and it was a possibility. At this point, this is 7-8 years ago. This was simply just a possibility that, hey, Ashley, you are enough as you are. How you show up in spaces is perfectly enough as you are. Remove the masks, remove the performance, remove the check marks, because that's what it was for me at that point. I thought of spirituality as a hustle. I know, again, this was undeveloped. We're going to get there. I thought of it as a hustle. And I also saw it as a check mark. It was almost just like I'm getting a new job. Here's the job application. Here are the job requirements. That's how I thought of it at that point. And that's when Source, God, Universe, whatever you believe in, we had a very intimate conversation, and I had to realize, hey, I have a little bit more work to do to be the confident individual that shows up in healing spaces. I was not being my authentic self. I also did not know who the fuck I was at an authentic level. I had been on go mode since I was, probably like 3 or 4 years old. And everything that was given to me, I was performing life through what had been given to me. So we're talking psychosis, mental disorders, false beliefs, generational curses, all of the things. And I was performing life. I wasn't living life. And that was when the grand stripping of everything I knew had to happen. I could no longer perform life. I could no longer perform spirituality. Is a spiritual awakening easy? Absolutely the fuck not. No. Fuck no, they're not easy. Would I trade it for the world? Absolutely not. Because today, as I sit here and I'm speaking to you, and as we are connecting, I have never felt so confident in who I am, so grounded in the fact that I will never have all the fucking answers. No one does. And I know my entire soul. I am a whole being, and I am living and being as my truest self. If something does not feel right in my heart, I just can't proceed with it. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things, because I can also sense when other people are feeling and in the same space as I am. It's amazing, and I'm super thankful for it. So now fast forward to today. There might be some spaces where I feel like there are masks or there's people performing and such, and it really has nothing to do with me. I just know that I won't get the full experience of that space if I'm trying to be my bare naked soul and it's more of a performance or a mask for them. And so this is what I mean. When you show up as your fullest, truest self, you're not going to belong everywhere. Honestly, there are some spaces that I've been in and I just don't fit anymore. And that's okay. This is why it is the courage and the absolute self-driven desire to know who you are and to be in spaces that are aligned. That doesn't mean you cut people off. That doesn't mean, unless you actually have to, and then that's a whole different conversation. That doesn't mean that you, have agoraphobia and just don't go anywhere. You show up as you, but you have the choice. You have the autonomy to choose, is this something that I want to continue with? Is it detrimental to my, spiritual health, energetic health, consciousness? And you simply are from that space. When you are confidently who you are, nothing around you can faze you. because you always come home. You always come back to center. And it's beautiful. And that is what I want to explore and talk about and highlight and celebrate with everyone that listens to this. Thanks for tuning in today. You are absolutely beautiful. I am excited to hear or see any of the comments, and we'll just keep going on this journey called life. See you next week.